Hi, everybody. I am very excited to be with you. I think I've said that every time I'm excited. So how about I'm very happy. I'm very heart expanded to be with you for this Chalice and the Well Summit interview, filling your sacred chalice from the eternal well within. We aim to help you find pathways towards embracing the inner light, your soul, your connection with the eternal energy source empowering all of creation to exist. I'm Brianna Wunderlin, and I'm here with Prajna O'Hara, who is the author of Edge of Grace. She is a seasoned Dharma teacher, trauma-informed Hakomi therapist, and plant healing guide. Although she has 4 decades of in-depth practice and credentials, her life work is embodied through raising 3 unique daughters, 2 of them born 3 months premature through medical trauma. This has endowed her with initiations as gifts that shatter normative constructs and shine light on intrinsic value, primordial being. Thriving is birthright, as is access to resources for transformation. Prajna offers mostly group work, including embodied dharma, meditations, and plant spirit medicine integrations. She has an upcoming womb wisdom course. She offers this body of work as a prayer that arose out of a dark night that literally blew her off course and birthed new ways of being and living in harmony with life. She invites you into shared co-creation of a sustainable aliveness. And today we're going to go into deprogramming our feminine body field, earth womb coherence. Welcome, Prajna. So good to be with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been a long time coming since I received your initial invitation. And it's really great to kind of get this going. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Awesome. You have a big topic about deprogramming our feminine body field. And I know you have your own embodied experience of going on that journey. Can you tell us a little about that and coming from that and then going into womb wisdom?
Yes. So, wow, it's been quite a journey, a very long journey. And so when I first received this invitation, it kind of triggered something in me. The theme at the time was the chalice and the well. And it brought me back to that experience of being a 7-year-old little girl, in a girl body in the Catholic Church, where in so many different religious cultures, there is the chalice. And the chalice is often held in the patriarchal structure by a male form. And in the Catholic Mass, it was considered the blood of Christ, the beverage, so to speak, for eternal life. And it was something that wasn't permitted you weren't able to partake in it if you were in a female body. So that was the beginning of my training into dominant culture, into patriarchy, into discounting my body, discounting my gender, and collecting shame in the field of my body, just due to being a female, just due to being a girl. So I know this is a common story, and I'm kind of revealing my age because the Mass was in Latin. So I'm 63 now. So that was many years ago. But I can see that this is a thread that really was intertwined in my life. The story of shame, the story of dominance and power and ranking, and in a female form, needing to produce and perform and accomplish and work hard for recognition. So that's when I speak of the feminine field of the body, clearing that and deprogramming. That's what I'm speaking about. Deprogramming all of the different ways that the messages of the patriarchy still lives in us, whether it be right here directly in this life through different experiences, whether that be sexual violation or rape, or, as we know, many girls are part of the sex trade, which is a very huge industry, whether it just be through the media and objectifying the woman's body. It goes on and on. Birth being taken over, to not be so many women who have not been empowered to birth their own babies and to have the trust of the intelligence and the wisdom in our bodies. So it's a big deprogramming of not just this life, but also of what our mothers have carried and their mothers and their mothers and their mothers. And there's so many similarities within every culture, of course, but I can only speak about the culture that I have grown up in, which was a very Catholic, patriarchal culture. So my journey in that particular system was looking outside of myself. So the seeker became very active at an early age to seek for spirit, to seek for the mystery, to seek for fulfillment and belonging and connection through a source outside of myself, which was normally in the form of a man. And at 14, I had a very violent sexual rape by somebody within the Catholic Church. And that really brought me into a sense of separation within myself, a real disconnect to my body, and behaviors and habits took over that, I really didn't have control over them. So I learned how to behave in a particular way until I was 21. Maybe I was 20. And I had this wonderful roommate who at college, and she would notice that I was out late a lot and would get dropped off by different men all the time. And one morning while I'm all hungover, she shakes me, and my name back then, she called me Nan. And she said, "Nan, your behavior is not normal." And I had no clue that this was abnormal, that it was this programming was so deeply entrenched in my system, in the field of my body, mind, emotion, burying my soul. There was just like it was dark inside. I couldn't even go there. And the idea of that not being normal just never occurred to me. So she brought me to my first spiritual teacher, Eunice, just this kind of Zen, self-made woman. And she sorted me out over five years. It took a while. But that was when I started to see the conditioning, the imprints, and how she guided me and helped me. So that was, say, the beginning of my dharma. This idea that, for me, dharma is it's like that original innocence that we're all born from the earth womb. We all come through the womb as innocence, and we have this innocent prayer, of the heart to love and be loved. That it's just there. You see it in newborn babies, and we're already connected, and there isn't a concern. This when birth is allowed to happen naturally through the womb of the mother, and the mother through her connection to the earth womb, then the life stream is really different, and things happen along the way. So what I discovered with my first teacher was dharma. Dharma is the call of the heart. It's the movement of the soul, how it manifests itself in this life. So that's the practice. It's like, what do we do to clear the space to feel and listen to the movement of our soul and where it's taking us? So that was like really the beginning of my spiritual journey, was 2021. And a lot of cleanup had to happen. And it wasn't like it all happened at once, for sure.
Mm. Mm.
So that's kind of the beginning of my soul journey. It just doesn't take you, I'll just want to give you a chance to speak. It doesn't take us all the way yet to the womb.
Mm.
But just, I mentioned that remembering that we're all born from the womb of the mother. Yeah. And that's our innocence. Nobody can take that away, no matter how much violation may have happened along the way, no matter how much we have learned to protect and cover and guard and disconnect and trauma, basically.
Mm.
Yeah, all that trauma can be resolved.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I'd love for you to continue the story, and I'm guessing it's going to go towards resolution in the womb. So
Yes, that is the great resolution, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, so my journey continued, and my teacher, Eunice, I practiced with her as a therapist and as a teacher for quite some time.
Mm.
But and then I had another experience. I was in theology school. I trained in seminary, and I had a Catholic. So this deprogramming was not complete. So I was still behaving out of a sense of a certain degree of shame and needing to prove myself and be of a certain type of service, which I loved. I've always been very service oriented, but I had a male mentor who was a Catholic priest.
Mm.
And it turned out that he was involved. He was my mentor, but he was not practicing very healthy boundaries. And I hadn't learned enough yet myself, and I was very vulnerable. So anyways, he was involved with 5 women at the time, I being one of them. So when after that happened and I completed seminary school, which was very rich, it was during the Martin Luther King civil rights movement and the women's movement, and there was so much activity going on at that time. It was super exciting. But then this experience happened, and I was writing sacred dramas instead of preaching as my you had to do preaching in order to graduate, and I didn't want to. So I did sacred drama. And I did it all around sexual violation and the abuse of authoritative power. So it's interesting. I'm doing this work, and at the same time, it's happening with me. You know, that still I hadn't healed enough in my own journey. I wasn't resourced enough yet in my own body. I hadn't deprogrammed enough yet of how unconscious imprints were still acting out. Although it was really incredible to do this work. I worked with women in prisons and in shelters and all kinds of places. And I began to discover and find out how many women are violated, you know, to varying degrees. And lots do end up in places where they're not very well resourced. So it was a huge eye opener to me. But what happened for me at the time is I didn't have the resources in myself to deal with it. So I kind of froze first, but then I fled. That's how my trauma was behaving. And I went and I lived in an ashram for 3 years, and I got, you know, really highly trained in yoga skills, yoga and body work and things like that. But I kind of checked out from, you know, what was happening in my own life. And I became this, on the outside, this yogini, you know, like I got the practice of it down, but I wasn't really doing the deeper inner work. So I was there 3 years, and Eunice ended up showing up to visit me one day, and she said, what are you doing here? You know, because I was in this kind of, you know, there was a male guru, even though he wasn't my guru. I was there for the community and for the learning. But she knew this particular person who got taken down later by the board of directors for inappropriate behavior. But she just looked at me with her clear blue eyes and said, "You don't belong here. Get on with it." And it, just really went through me, like a sword. I was like, wow. Because she went home and she died 3 days later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so then I was reminded of all of the work we had done together and to really get on with soul purpose. And I was told specifically through her guidance that I needed to do this deprogramming. That it was super important in my life work. Like, this is my life work, to deprogram the feminine field of the body, of all of the unhealthy, masculine, dominant, patriarchal forces. And it really, only to tell you the truth, has registered in me fully after birthing my own babies. That's when I really woke up to the power of the womb, the power of birthing, the power that women carry in their bodies. I don't necessarily use the word feminine so much because I feel it can get misinterpreted and be used lightly, but it's actually incredibly powerful when it's deep and it's clean and it's connected deep in the body. Like that, there's nothing more powerful. When I gave birth to my first baby, it was at home, completely natural. It just, nothing could top it. Nothing could touch the power of a woman's body, the intelligence of the body, of the womb, and of the baby, all together to know how to birth itself, to birth the soul. That is, the body is the vessel carrying it. And to see that happen and to feel, your engagement with it. So there's so much teaching in that by itself. Just that by itself is so much, because there's breathing, and being in our bodies has so much to do with breathing. In a masculine dominant culture, so much is about pushing, just the pushing. But to really give birth, we have to slow the breath down. There's pushing, yes. That comes every now and then. That's what allows the pushing to happen, is the relaxing down in the body. And the more that we relax down in our bodies, the pushing happens naturally. There's less effort. I'm not going to say that it's comfortable because there's discomfort in it, but the capacity to be with discomfort widens. So that's different to say that we shouldn't push, because pushing needs to happen. There's many things that we need to attend to in a life, and any mother, any sibling, any leader will tell you that. In the female domain, there's many things that we need to attend to. But if we don't take the time to breathe in, all of that on the outside can feel like a lot of efforting, a lot of pushing. There's where we get overstressed, exhausted, fatigued, because we're not allowing ourselves to really rest inside our wombs, like to really drop deep. So birthing taught me that like nothing else. And then, I'm just talking a lot. Should I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 years later, I mean, this is you can read my book. You know, it's not everything is in my book. There's a lot of backstory, and I'm writing the second edition of my book now because all of this is a process. You know, we can view something at one time in our life and then view it 7 years later. Like I feel like I go in 7 year cycles, and I'm in another 7 year cycle now. And the way that I view it is also different. It's like the lens of perception continues to widen. And I see and experience things in a different way. And there's more information and there's more clarity. So that's being rewritten now. So what happened 2 years after my first baby was birthed at home with just this ease and gentleness and this holding to be able to be with her always. I was pregnant with twins, and through inadvertence, really didn't need to happen. I had a backup plan with my midwife because I was 39 at the time. And giving twins at 39, it's a good idea to always have, you know, another plan in mind. And she wasn't in town, so I went to the local hospital. And the local hospital didn't complete their examination with me. They asked how my first birth was, and I said, oh, it was a piece of cake. She came in 2 hours. It was beautiful and easy. And the doctor panicked and said, if these babies are being born now, we aren't able to handle it. And I was helicoptered to Stanford Hospital. And suddenly I became a patient. I became, as soon as I was signed the paper to be admitted into their hospital, it all moved so quickly. I was their patient. My midwife was not able to enter. I was in a room by myself. And over the course of a weekend, Monday morning came around and the lead doctor came in and, you know, looking at his watch. It was just the epitome of dominant Western medicine. Looked at the clock because I was at the time, because I never had medical insurance. So there were different influences happening. I never needed insurance. I'd never been in a hospital. I'd never been ill. So because I was on state insurance, it was, you know, they weren't making enough money off of my time in the hospital. So they looked at the clock and said, okay, we're going to the OR. These babies need to be born. So they were 3 months premature without an accurate picture of anything. And as much as I had requested to be released to go home, all of my requests were ignored. My body was ignored. And also at the same time, it wasn't like I was fighting, because I really knew that I needed to stay calm and keep the baby safe. That was my prayer. That was my intention. And as soon as everyone would leave me alone, we would just sleep, and there was nothing wrong. So this was a huge violation. You know, the medical profession takes an oath of do no harm. Well, that was out the window that weekend. And I live with the consequences of that. My daughters live with the consequences of that. So that has really shifted my life journey in many, many, many ways. So this is how we're going to get to how you really come into your womb. Excuse me. I always get a little choked up every time I tell that story, because I mean, it lives with me every day. My daughters are 24 now, and they're completely dependent on me for their care. Libby is quadriplegic. She's not able to do anything for herself. And she is the sweetest, most delightful little being you will ever meet. You know, she's just She's remarkable. She's happy with herself.
Mm.
Even though she can't do anything, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She just gets upset if she gets left out of something she knows. She doesn't, excuse me, she doesn't communicate in words, but this is also how she's become a teacher to me, because I've learned through her how to listen in my body. When I listen in my body, when she communicates, I get it. I get it. So we communicate to each other through our bodies. So she doesn't have to have words. She doesn't have to have vision. Her body is communicating. And so I've developed through her this capacity to listen in a way that I can't imagine. And this is also, we're getting there to nature, because this is the trees and plants in the earth are alive, as you know. And the more we develop our capacity to be in our bodies and to listen, we are also able to listen to nature, and we can feel the aliveness of nature. And so again, there's another shift. It shifts how we are in relationship to her, not as something to consume, but something to be in reciprocity with. Yeah. So this brings me to the next place in my journey, because when the babies were born, I became then disconnected from my body, from the waist down. Everything went numb. I never had a menstrual cycle again. Just finished. I didn't go through menopause. Finished. Just dead. It's just, so I was operating for many years just from here in hormones, just navigating a world that I knew nothing about, traumatized infants, neonatal intensive care babies, that they were smaller than my hands when they were born, 1 pound each. Oh my God. And so what a navigation. And somewhere in there, another 7-year cycle. It was around 7 years into that where a friend introduced me to ayahuasca. And that was when my journey began with ayahuasca, but very lightly, because my first experience it so opened me up. I was like, oh, I don't think that I can open like this and, be practical, do the day to day. So, and I was so busy with my children. So anyway, I had that introduction, and it was with an American medicine person. But then later I went to Peru directly and worked with Shipibo women healers. And that was where I really took the deep dive, a very deep immersion. And I was there for quite some time. And what happened is the medicine, it would take more than the time that we have for me to share. This is in my upcoming book. But I write about it. And it's really something that's challenging to give words to speak, and even to write about. But what happened is I awoke into myself as a plant, my plant self, as a tree, and the base of my body opened up to the earth. And it was as if, because when there's wounding for anyone, and when we're disconnected, when there's an opening that happens again, something is cleared, a block, there's grief. Yeah. Because it's like we're grieving that missed experience in our bodies. We're grieving that which we did not get to love fully. There's in the earth, in humanity, there is so much grief. And I think I said in your thing how this work is challenging, because we have to be willing to, this is part of the deprogramming of the feminine field, is to be able to allow the grief to happen over, not this is a personal body, all bodies,
Yeah.
you know, and the earth, how she's been treated, the indigenous people, the people of color, the Black people, the women, you know, I mean, there's so much in our ancestral history. So when a woman or a body of any sort is called to her, to the deep, deep feminine, the earth womb, it's a huge calling. Because it opens us up to these, you know, whatever layer is still here, living here, and it will clean it. So that's what happened in my early work with ayahuasca. And it opened my womb, like, to, I mean, I just became the ground. And so now, like, the part of working with plant medicine, the integration of that is to know that without needing to take the medicine. So that's the integration process has happened for me over time. So, you know, now I'm just a tree, you know, just like, you know, I feel myself as a tree, but really rooted and connected to the earth womb. But even in that healing, I had a pretty deep scar. The scar is gone. I don't even have a scar.
Oh my God.
And so I came into my legs again. I came into my pelvis. I came into my yoni. I came into the energy in the base of my body, like this field of energy that so many of us are disconnected from.
Yeah.
And so I returned to something I knew as a younger person. And then at a certain point, it got distorted through the sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And so some degree of cleaning happened, but it didn't really, the deprogramming didn't really, you know, get fired up until birthing, you know, having the opportunity to give birth to children and then have that birthing experience taken over.
Yeah.
Just what a, I mean, I can't even give words to that, but I'm still processing and integrating that. I think I probably will my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, that I have my daughters, they remind me of it every day. There was a time when I, you know, didn't let myself remember it. Even when I wrote my book the first time, I was kind of passive in it because I still was protecting myself from the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Which I understand now about so many other people who have incredible tragedy happen, and you just have to go numb. I mean, there's a part that just checks out, forgets, goes numb because it's easier so survival can happen.
Yeah.
So that's how I awoke and continue to deepen my roots in the great Earth Mother, the one who has given birth to all of us. And in this, so it's like, it's a matrix. So it's coming out of the matrix of the dominant patriarchal culture and all of those imprints getting deprogrammed. And it happens kind of simultaneously, but at the same time as we allow that to happen, we're grounding and we're rooting in the life force of Mother Earth and coming into an empowered relationship with her.
Yeah. So beautiful. You're really.
Does it make sense?
It makes sense. You have such a beautiful way of turning your story into a teaching that we can all sink into and almost like absorb, you know, like plants speaking to each other.
Yeah. Well, and I think with women too, like that's the difference. That's one of the differences between, you know, I mean, just in how we lead. We lead through storytelling, and it's a craft. I mean, it's it's quite natural to us, because I mean, everybody learns differently, but I know that I learn through story,
Mm,
and I learn through my body. Like, if you just give me a bunch of information, I'm not going to get it until I can live it.
yeah.
And as we become more embodied, this is the case. This is the case for so many people, and for children who get put into different kind of classrooms. It's only because they learn through their bodies. I mean, they haven't been able to adopt to a head education, a system of educating through the head.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing that you said that, actually, because there's I had a dream last night about a young lady who I haven't dreamed about in a while, but you just brought it up. Her name is Maya. She's a beautiful young lady who lives in Portland, and she's also diagnosed as autistic, but she's a super cosmic healer being, and so in my dream, when we visit each other in dreams, it's like a fluid conversation, not really like in quote unquote how we would communicate if we were sitting next to each other physically. But yeah, it's so fascinating. It's amazing that you said that. Sorry, I just went into
Yeah, and these children that are labeled in certain ways actually have so many gifts and so much to teach us,
yeah.
because they are opened to different dimensions of being. I mean, they're really bring so much, and that's, I mean, in my daughter Abby, it is really, she's a gift, and she's a fighter.
Mm.
And she's much, she's pretty high functioning, but still has a lot of challenges with coordination and seeing and other things. But she works with me on my retreats, and she's been to Peru with me many times. She's a little medicine woman,
Mm.
it's natural to her, this idea, not that she will even verbally say this, but that we're here to heal.
Mm.
And in her healing and in her showing up for herself, so many people benefit from her courage and her, her tenderness, and her, how she cares, how she, she can't get around really well. So sometimes she'll like crawl over to a person just to hold their hand.
Oh, wow.
So she's training to be my assistant. She calls herself my assistant. And she just said to me the other day, she said, "Mom, when are you going to put me up on your website as your assistant?"
Oh.
I said, "All right, give me a photograph. You're going to go up." But yeah, she helps out, and it's great. And I just wanted to say too, and another thing, I mean, I just want to say this because I have no idea who's listening, but we are all so different, and then at the same time we are all the same, and we all share the same relatives, in the earth beings, and in all, all of us have the capacity to open for these portals of seeing and knowing and listening to open. And my children and children coming now are showing us this, because they're not really able to fit into normative standards, and nor should we hold them to that ever.
Right.
But my daughter, she just got new braces, and we've been trying to get braces for her forever, which allow her foot to have movement in it, not just this stiff brace. So she got a good one, and we do walking together. So just here's another thing. So I walk with her, and I have to slow down so she can walk slow and feel every part of her foot on the ground. So I'm doing it with her, and it's reminding me of just that is such a great practice for being in your body, connecting down through the womb, feeling yourself as a tree, as a plant, rooted and anchored in the earth. It's such good medicine in that. So she's reminding me of that.
So profound. Yes. Thank you, Abby. I'm also wondering if we want to go into a practice together. I feel like just listening to is a practice, but I think going guided practice would be lovely as well.
Sure. What do we have on time?
I've lost track a little bit, but if we go for an hour, it'll be like maybe like 20 minutes practice or 15 to 20 minutes practice.
Okay. So I want to do a practice. I'm calling it Earth Womb Coherence. And before I begin this practice, I just want to say part of what reminded me of this is I do have some private clients. I have a small practice because I'm busy in so many other ways. But I want to say from the start that it doesn't matter what age your body is. Sometimes a woman can feel that if she's past menopause, that, being in the womb and connecting through the womb, or any other situation that may be going on in the body, like none of that is true. That's part of what we need to deprogram. So what reminded me of this practice is one of my clients who is an elder, only a little bit older than me, really. And she has, like, when she first came to me, what she wanted was to discover, she's many children, grandchildren, so on and so forth. So that happens, you can tend to tend to others. And really seeing how she hadn't really lived her life so much. And that's been the course, is to how does she come into the remembering of her soul and the movement of her soul and what that is all about. And she paints. So she drew this painting of exactly the practice I'm going to take you on. And it's in this painting, what it showed is a kind of like a drill, through, like, starting at the top of the body, and how it just like drills down and down and down. And as it's doing that, it's clearing, and it's taking deeper. So it's like the deprogramming, the lifting of the imprints and going deeper and deeper. And it took her all the way down. And then when she got down to the root, it opened her up into the earth. And then she drew all of these plants, the movement of plants coming up through her womb, and the aliveness of earth moving, and she actually paints quite nicely. And then this drill that was taking her down and in to do this deprogramming, the lifting of the old imprints, the healing of the heart and the memories, and so much wonderful good work, that became a caterpillar. And that caterpillar moved up through her heart, and then this heart had wings of the butterfly. And it was like this painting that she showed me, it was just like, that's it. So that's her depiction of her process as a woman who's, probably 70. So I just wanted to share that because it's a really potent experience, and it wasn't a long process for her to come to that. And also it allowed her to get off some medication that she was taking for her heart. Wow. She didn't need that. It was just that she was suppressing her own heart, and her heart was ready to heal. So so what came from that, and some of the work I do with women, is Earth Womb Coherence. So we'll do that now. And I'm gonna, maybe we'll be 10 minutes or something like that. But what I want to say is, if, as you're listening to me, if there's a place that I'm guiding you to, and it doesn't feel like you want to go there, just remember that you have authority over your own body, over your own experience, always. Always. So you're your best guide. So you listen from the inside. And if there's a place that says no, that's good. And if you want to deepen, you deepen. Yeah. So that's important. That's also part of the deprogramming, because part of the looking out for the chalice, we always have to do that little check. Am I looking out there for some, is that the authority really?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. You are always your own inner authority. And that is the huge deprogramming that truly allows us to just come right in and down into our own bodies. So that's what we're going to do together. So just let yourself be comfortable in your seat. And remember that you have chosen this seat for yourself, where you're sitting right now. Maybe give a moment of thanks for the land that you are living on. And notice as soon as you start to give thanks and appreciation for the land that you're living on and the opportunity just to sit, that already there is a sense of grounding and landing in your body. So you can feel the base of your body, the ground beneath you, the fertile ground, honoring, landing, resting here. So close your eyes if that feels natural to you, and at any time you can open them. And let your breath come in and down. Nice, long, gentle breath. Now, the mind and thoughts may be happening, and let that be okay. So, to be in the body, to ground in the womb in the earth, does not require anything within you to be a certain way. So, just soften around thought and let yourself breathe even more wide. More deep. And if it feels good for you, let yourself place one hand on your heart and the other hand at your low belly, right there down towards your womb, your pelvis, whatever feels comfortable. And notice what that feels like. First, to place a hand at the heart. Feel the sensations of the heart. And then what it feels like to place a hand at the womb, low belly, pelvis. Oh yeah, a little more breath goes right there. Let that happen. And notice that when we make contact with our bodies, just this light touch encourages a deeper breathing. Now remembering that the torso of your body is here for a very good reason. So let yourself breathe and widen in your torso. Your torso, the rib cage, the breastbone, all form the altar for your heart. The altar is not outside of you. It's right here in your body. Let yourself breathe wide. Give lots of space for your heart. Without asking the heart to be any way in particular. Sometimes our hearts feel heavy. Sometimes they feel light and buoyant. Letting your heart be as it is. And in the allowance, the soft, kind allowance, if there's something ready to heal or empty in the heart, let that happen. And let the breath go right to the back side of the heart. Yeah. And you can always come back here to the heart. That's a full practice by itself. But even to just take a little time each day, just a moment to feel your heart, to acknowledge the altar of your heart. It's a beautiful practice. We're going to continue down deeper in the body and let the breath flow to the base of the belly and then further still. And if it is helpful to you, because you may be there by yourself and you may have had violations at your womb, I want you to follow my voice, feel me with you. Or I'm also could be a stranger. So if that isn't enough comfort, call on a good friend. Imagine someone that you feel really safe and comfortable with. Maybe it's a tree. Maybe it's the ocean. Maybe it's a field of grass. And feel yourself in the comfort of that good friend so you can drop more still down in the womb space. And notice that right at the base of the tailbone area, there is a portal. For you, it may already be open, or it may be opening. Let it open and let the energy of you connect to the energy of Mama Earth Womb beneath you. Like you have roots, because you do, at the base of your body, in the fertile ground of Mother, the great Mother of all. Feel your roots connecting to her, with her holding you firm in her care, in her strength, in her power. Now, this way of practicing can deepen and continue. It has many layers to it. But for now, I want you to just have this deep sense of connecting to the Mother Earth womb. And in doing so, if there is something in your womb that needs or wants healing, wants comfort, you let that part of you be held by Mother. And a harmonizing, a transmuting happens. And you can spend as long as you like here. And again, if you need more support than what's here right now, you call on your elders, your relatives, your friends, and receive support. This is the clearing of the feminine field, allows us to receive support, to be held and supported by her and the relatives that we all know so well. Feel that deep, deep connection, that deep holding. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes if you close them, or you can continue on your own. It's nice that when you feel deeply drawn into yourself, that if you have the time and space in your life, that you let that continue. And you only need to do this also for a few minutes. Sometimes I have what I call the 7-minute practice. Just take 7 minutes. Take 1 minute.
Thank you, everybody, for being here to witness this and to also practice with us. Thank you for your body, mind, spirit, all here together. And please do check out Prajna's free gifts below and her beautiful work. And she has weekly meetings on Thursdays, I think. Well, thank you all for being here. And thank you again, Prajna. It's been beautiful.
Thank you, Brianna, for this lovely opportunity. Yeah. May everybody be well. Thank you for listening and tuning in.